The truth has finally been leaked on Brad Stevens' plans for this offseason in retooling and reshuffling this Boston Celtics roster. Following draft day one, he had a press conference, and in that press conference, he said a lot. But one key thing that he mentioned revolved around those two bigs that a lot of Celtics fans have some uncertainty on bringing back in Luke Kornet and Al Horford. So what did a guy in Brad Stevens say about this, and what does this imply for a guy in Joe Mazzulla, who also was given some great news from this press conference as well? We'll be diving in and exploring all of that and more on this episode of Celtics Digest. I am Bruce Veliz, and you guys have been absolutely fantastic showing your love and support for Patrick, Nick, and myself here on the channel. We do notice that you guys have been, hitting those comments, letting us know what you guys do think, and we really do appreciate all that love. And once again, like I said, thank you guys so much. We had our draft video yesterday about Hugo Gonzalez, so if you want to find out about him, definitely check that out. We also had a video talking about Brad Stevens mentioning the Jays once again, and that is something you definitely don't want to miss, so definitely check that out from this morning. And then he had this to say as well. So lots of news revolving around the Celtics. Like I mentioned, if you want to stay up to date, hit the subscribe button so you get all the news and updates daily here on Celtics Digest. Without further ado, let's dive in and let's explore the latest news update. Make sure to grab that snack and let's get into it. And man, oh man, this is music to my ears. As you guys know, over on this channel, there has been a lot of talks about a lot of discussions from multiple creators here talking about different things. But for my videos, you guys have seen that I have been saying the Celtics are not going to trade Jaylen Brown. They're not going to trade Derrick White. They are going to keep this core together. And I made a video yesterday before the draft saying, no way they actually consider trading these guys. And Brad Stevens confirmed that yesterday, talking about how the Celtics in that press conference view Jaylen, Jayson, Derrick, and Peyton Pritchard as this core of this Celtics team. And therefore, puts away all those trade rumors that everyone was coughing up from late nights with Shams. And I went already and I cooked in that video yesterday with Patrick. So definitely go check that out from this morning. We have some more updates revolving around that situation. As even though we talked about Jaylen, even though we talked about Derrick White, we didn't talk about the two big men. And Brad Stevens had a lot to say about them. Zach Cox had an article written today for the Boston Herald, and he said in his article, quote from Brad Stevens, that there is no question our priorities would be bringing back Al Horford and Luke Kornet. After trading away two starters, the Celtics hope to re-sign their top two internal free agents. If we want to dive into this article, the list of Celtics champions who will be playing for new teams in 2025-2026 have already included Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porziņģis, as the Celtics were looking to shed salary, something we all knew was going to be happening this offseason. But Brad Stevens still remains hopeful that centers Al Horford and Luke Kornet aren't going to be added to that list of leaving Boston. Horford and Kornet are Boston's top two impending free agents, and Stevens said Wednesday that re-signing both big men is an offseason priority. I think the biggest thing, as you look at the rest of the team, is what we're trying to do, is then there's no question our priorities would be bring back Al and Luke, the Celtics president of basketball operations said in his draft night news conference. Those guys are huge parts of this organization. They're going to have, I'm sure, plenty of options all over the place, and that's well deserved from how they've played, but I think that would be a priority. At the same time, I don't want to put pressure on them. It's their call ultimately, but yeah, we would love to have them back. And that's what you want to hear come out of Brad Stevens, right? There was a lot of uncertainty with this Celtics team over these last couple hours, over these last couple of days, as he was moving fast, making moves. But I've been stating to let you know that no drastic big blow up was going to happen, right? Even though Tatum's injured, even though they're in an Eastern Conference where there's still some top-tier teams, they're still going to be good with Jaylen Brown, still good with Derrick White, still good with this core. And they want to make sure that they have that core around Jayson Tatum when he comes back. So when Jayson Tatum does have that little bit of a recovery time where he needs to kind of get back into the swing of things coming off a torn ACL, the Celtics are already ready to go and can easily add him into that equation instead of him having to just turn up with a bunch of young guys and then have to be that dominant number one guy again. And then the uncertainties then rise from the fans if he isn't ready to step up right away for the Boston Celtics. But as we all know, the team was looking to shed some salary. That was the main goal of this offseason, right? Is getting below this second apron and shedding some of this luxury tax. And the Celtics were able to do that in 10 days, dropping from $540 million into the projected luxury tax to now only $280 million into that luxury tax here. And if we want to look at their projected salary cap, they are sitting currently underneath the second apron. With pick 28, they did select a guy in Hugo Gonzalez, like I mentioned, a little bit of a wing from Spain. Going to be a very interesting and intriguing piece to definitely look forward to for the future. So like I mentioned, if you missed that video, go check that one out as Patrick and I dove into him following the draft. But going into the rest here of this roster. When looking at those free agents, Luke and Al, it is key that once again, Brad Stevens wants to bring them back. And I mentioned this when talking about this team, right? I mentioned that it's most likely Al Horford's going to be back. I don't see him leaving, right? He left for Philly a couple years ago. He realized that was a mistake. He got brought back, and in his speech with the Celtics when winning a championship last year, he stated that when he met with Wick 8 years ago, now 9, almost 10 years ago, when he originally signed with Boston in 2016, that they had visioned him winning a ring in Boston in that moment, and it was very well worth it. Jayson Tatum on that day when they won the championship, when Lisa Salters asked him what it meant for winning the championship for Al Horford, he said he deserved it. We finally did it for Al, and that's one of my favorite teammates. There's no way that a guy in Al Horford is going to look at this roster and look at his boy and Jayson Tatum, who just went down with an injury, and say, I'm abandoning ship. I need to go win a ring. Peace out. See you later. He's not doing that. He already did that. He learned from his mistake, like I said, and there's nothing for Al Horford to prove. Back then, Al Horford needed to prove that he still wanted to be a champion, right? Still wanted to build up his legacy. He's already won that ring. His family's in Boston. Why is he going to up and move them for the chance of potentially winning another ring for his legacy? People think that these players just need to boost their legacy, and people don't realize they're actual human beings and that they're not robots and they're not going to do what everyone else tells them to do. They're going to do what they want to do. And Al Horford, a Dominican man in the city of Boston, where a lot of Dominican people are, already feels like home, has his kids growing up there, and loves this city. I just don't see him leaving. And there's, once again, no need for him to leave. Why does he need a ring? He already won one. Why does he need a $20-30 million contract? He's already been a top-tier player with multiple teams across the league. It's not like he was just a fringe guy for his career. There's no need for Al Horford to leave. Now, the question with Luke Kornet always arose. Maybe there's potential with him leaving because he has the option to continue to still grow, continue to still get better within this within these organizations. And Luke obviously starting being undrafted, working his way through the G League, and having to find really a place in the NBA, it would make sense for him to take the biggest payday when that opportunity does present himself, specifically with the Boston Celtics being in those salary restrictions. But we all do know that Luke Kornet took a pay cut last season to come back with the Boston Celtics and has very fallen in love with the city of Boston. Not to mention the fact that this is the team that, once again, for a player being undrafted, for a player that had been traded multiple times and playing with G Leagues, brought the best out of him, and he resembles that. He realizes that not only is Boston my home, the city that I've been playing for the last couple seasons, but they're the one that made me this NBA player. They're the one that gave me this chance, gave me this opportunity, and I took the best of that moment. And I've been able to fit in like a glove here, and I don't know if I want to risk that uncertainty somewhere else. And that's why Brad Stevens made it known, right? Their goal is to get these guys under contract. That's why they went out and traded away Jrue Holiday for Anthony Simons. That's why when they did the Kristaps Porziņģis deal, they didn't take back Terrence Mann and that first round pick. They took back Georges Niang, and a lot of Celtics fans are going to be like, oh, Georges Niang, it was an unfair trade. You're a casual, ladies and gentlemen. The reason that they took a deal in Georges Niang was to drop below the salary so they don't have to trade a Jaylen Brown, so they don't have to trade a Derrick White, so they don't have to trade one of these other players. Now, I still do think the Celtics will still make some more moves, right? I'm definitely not going to discount them out yet, right? Like I've mentioned in the past, they still need to shed some salary, and it would be beneficial if they still do shed some more salary. With sitting underneath the second apron, the Celtics now do have access to the mid-level exception, but not the full mid-level exception. They have a partial of it, which is roughly around $5 million. Now, maybe Luke Kornet does take a pay cut, and that's something you can get him to come back on, which is a little bit of a pay raise from last year, but I still do think you have to raise that price a little bit compared to what other bigs in this market, and specifically backup bigs, have been getting out there over these last couple of days, and which we'll see in the next couple of weeks diving into free agency. So for the Celtics, I think dropping below underneath that tax threshold into around $187 million is definitely where the Celtics are definitely trying to continue to go so they can have full access to that mid-level exception to extend to Luke Kornet, or potentially even use it partially for him or Al, regardless of what they want to do, maybe even some other free agents. I think that's the pathway that they are looking for. And for that, obviously that means that there could be still some more trades going down, right? Maybe Georges Niang gets flipped in another deal. Maybe Anthony Simons, like Nick, my boy, talked about here on the channel, could get flipped for another smaller salary, or even two salaries broken up down into like a $10 million and a $12 million contract. Sam Hauser could still be used as a $10 million salary filler to be thrown into some teams as well. And not to mention, some of these trades, obviously, we're still in the season, where technically in the next offseason, don't want to confuse you, but because it's not July 1st yet, we're still in the calendar year of 2024 and 2025. Some of these deals can't get technically done until July 6th. Some of these deals can still be affected, and that's why the Jrue Holiday deal hasn't been closed off. The Kristaps Porziņģis deal hasn't been closed off. Those deals can still get added onto, revamped, more pieces thrown in, and that could really alter how the Celtics really do look going into free agency in these next couple of days. But like I mentioned, the main priority for this team from Brad Stevens is keeping Al Horford and keeping Luke Kornet. And that is the mainstay of this team, like I mentioned, multiple times. Keeping these guys, making sure they stay locked up on this squad is going to be essential. And Brad Stevens is doing what we trust him to do, right? He got rid of the contracts that we all kind of look forward to, not look forward, but kind of expected to be gone, with Jrue Holiday, Kristaps Porziņģis, and potentially even Sam Hauser, who still could potentially go. Maybe Anthony Simons in a flip. Once again, still keeping our eyes out because I do think moves are coming. But like I mentioned multiple times, like I mentioned twice already when talking about Shams, like I mentioned on Twitter multiple times, like I've seen you guys saying in the comment section, the Boston Celtics, and I'll repeat this once again, are not trading Jaylen Brown and Derrick White. And they're trying to keep Al Horford and Luke Kornet. That is right out of Brad Stevens' mouth, and that is going to be key. He also shot down the rumors of trying to trade with the Jazz, which is absolutely hilarious. So once again, Shams, hearing stuff from other GMs, just putting it out there in the universe, hoping that something clicks because the Celtics are a big market team, but once again, in reality, it fails right up in front of his face. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Like I said, very passionate about the Celtics team, very passionate in how the reporting gets done, and I'm absolutely frustrated that there was some discussions about this already. So I'm just glad to see these reports are finally coming in to just shut it all down, take it completely out of the realm of the possibilities for these people to even think of and come up with ideas, and we can finally get moving on to the real discussions with the Celtics into the offseason. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment sections. Let me know how you guys ultimately feel on this Boston Celtics team, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, and go Boston Celtics. Peace out, everyone.